Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is the TeacherCast Podcast. We are, of course, live here every single Tuesday night. Please check us out on the Tech Educator Podcast. We'd love to have you with us. Tonight, we're talking all about two very important subjects. We're talking to our friends from the Cartoon Network about some new things they've got going on, and we also have a special guest from the Scratch team talking to us about how cartoons and coding go together. I'm really interested in learning a lot about this. Of course, there's several great ways that you can reach out and be a part of this in all of our shows. You can find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us over at feedback@teachercast.net. And don't forget to find us on iTunes and YouTube. You can, of course, subscribe to us over at teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. I have two amazing guests today. First, I want to bring on the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships for the Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and Boomerang, Jill King. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great, Jeff. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here and to have this conversation.
Jill, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so looking forward to learning more about Cartoon Network. What is happening these days over on the television network?
Great. We are, reaching millions of kids every day. Our core demographic is really 4 to 14 years old. Our sweet spot are kids 6 to 11. And we have fantastic shows such as OKKO, the Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans Go, and many more. And we are excited to, entertain and delight kids every day. And really, more importantly, give them opportunities to engage with the characters and shows that they love. And we do that a number of ways, and I'm looking forward to talking through, some of those great things that we're doing.
I'm certainly looking forward to learning more about that. I also want to bring on the Director of Communications for Scratch, who's coming to us live from MIT up in the Boston area, Champika Fernando. Champika, how are you today?
Pretty good. I'm super excited to be here with you and Jill. So thanks for having me.
Now, Scratch and TeacherCast have a long history of doing some fine shows together. For those who are interested in learning about coding and learning about the Scratch program, talk to us a little bit about Scratch and where do we find it? It's a really, really awesome program.
Yeah, you can find us online. We're free. It's scratch.mit.edu. It's a block-based programming editor that lets kids make stories, games, and animation and share them online with millions of other kids around the world. And so, we've been growing really rapidly over the last few years. So just last year, we had over 200 million kids from every single country in the world creating projects on Scratch. And so we're really excited just to see the types of things kids are creating and especially excited about partnerships with folks like Cartoon Network because it really expands the types of things kids can create on Scratch.
That is awesome. And, the neat thing about all this is, I want to ask you guys today, how does Cartoon Network and Scratch get together? How do they meet? How does all of this stuff work together? There is a summit coming up called CS4 All. Jill, could you talk to us a little bit about that? And what is that summit? How does anybody get a hold of that and be a part of it?
Sure. I definitely encourage people to Google CS4 All Consortium to learn more about it and find out how to get involved with the consortium. But it is a national hub for the CS4 All movement. And we were thrilled to be invited to participate. And our president, Christina Miller, will have a fireside chat with Megan Smith, the former CTO of the United States of America. And they'll talk about the importance of representation in media and obviously how important it is to put out positive images for kids very early on and really inspire kids to be interested in computer science and other technology disciplines. And, I think we all know what the research tells us and we know how important it is for kids to see themselves reflected, the old, I can see it, I can be it. So we're really looking forward to a great conversation at the CS4 All events.
For those who might be new to the whole idea of STEM education, coding, why is it important that we start working with these skills and these topics with kids at a very young age? We were talking before we started the show that my 3-year-olds and I, we do robotics together. We're actually doing Scratch Junior together. Champika, why is it important for these topics to be brought up with our young ones today?
So I mean, there's lots of different reasons. A lot of the most common one you hear is just, there's lots of jobs in engineering. And so, there's a argument that, we have to make sure that we're training the sort of next generation of engineers. But on the Scratch team, we sort of think of it even more broadly than that. We think that's important, but we also think, today we're surrounded by computers and technology and digital content. And so in a world where we're surrounded by these things and it's a part of our everyday lives, we think it's really important that kids not only be comfortable with these technologies, but and be consumers, but also be sort of creators and feel sort of empowered and have agency as creators with all of these tools.
One of the topics that I love to bring up here on this show is this idea of coding is not just a boy sport, and coding can be for both boys and girls. And I know the Cartoon Network does an awful lot of stuff to bring out all of the amazing STEM coding activities, not just for boys, but for girls. Why is it important that we as educators, we as the Cartoon Network and Scratch and all of these different locations, why is it important that we promote the fact that coding is gender neutral?
It's really important. I think it's up to, those of us in media to break down those barriers for kids at a very early age. This generation of kids has, more access to media, to technology than any other previous generation. And, their little minds are getting imprinted at a really young age. And it really is critical for them to see themselves reflected in media. In fact, that's an expectation of this generation of kids called Gen Z or plurals. There's many different many different titles for this generation of kids floating around out there. We call them plurals because they are the most diverse generation ever. And they need to see themselves reflected. And I think that holds true for your question around why is it important specifically for computer science or coding. They need to know that it's for them as well. It's not just for one group of people. It's for everyone.
And how is the Cartoon Network doing that? I mean, I'm seeing clearly through my own kids' eyes a transition. We went through the Mickey phase and now we're into the Powerpuff phase. What can you talk about with the programming, with the decisions, and even let's go beyond the television? You've got the podcast, you've got the YouTube, you've got all these different outlets to reach students and little kids. What goes into these different decisions, and how do you choose what the overall general curriculum is that the Cartoon Network is putting out to students?
Great. And, we actually don't look at ourselves as, we're not an educational-based or curriculum-based company, right? We aspire to really entertain kids, to, laugh with them, right? To get them to laugh. That's what we do. But we know that they have incredible affinity and love for our characters, that it then gives us a great opportunity to use those characters to introduce them to new topics such as computer science. So that's why we partner with great partners such as the Scratch team coming out of MIT. We collaborate with the Scratch team because they're really the experts, and they've created this fantastic community where we can work together with the Scratch team and co-develop tutorials for kids, give kids, opportunities to create and express themselves in a way that maybe they haven't before. And really, I think that is our position. It's not about, for us, workforce development. It's truly about inspiring kids to be the next generation of creators and innovators. We're inspired by kids every day. We learn from them, and we think it's up to us to give them these opportunities to engage at that intersection of creativity and technology. So specifically what that means is, we make sure that we integrate computer science into our storylines. You mentioned the Powerpuff Girls. We have a great episode where Bubbles is a coder and she helps, thwart the bad guys and help her sisters escape the internet. Super fun. We have 4 more episodes that are technology and computer science theme within the Powerpuff Girls series. We also have a new series, and the creator, new series called OKKO, and the creator created this amazing female character who solves complex problems through computer science in a really fun and relevant way. We want to show kids that computer science is fun.
And Champika, talk to us a little bit about some of the things on the Scratch team. I know everybody knows that Scratch is a coding program, but you also have several variations of that is geared not just for the older students, but for the younger kids as well. What kind of opportunities does Scratch offer for, the primary grades?
Yeah, so I mean, we have Scratch, the sort of like standard Scratch platform. Our target audience is 8 to 16, but we see a long tail on either end there. But we also have Scratch Junior, which is aimed at kids who are pre-literate. All of the blocks are just icon-based. It's not connected to a community just because, it's more at that age, we think sharing, it makes more sense to share with family. And so there are definitely opportunities for kids, pre-literate, under 5. But within the Scratch community, there's actually, one of the things that's amazing about the Scratch community is the collaboration and sort of diversity along many dimensions, and age being one of them, right? You have kids who are 6 or 7 interacting with kids who are 11 or 12. And you can see that sort of in the types of projects that are being made, the interests and themes. And we don't necessarily see age as a correlation with sort of like the ability to or your sort of skill level in programming, right? We have kids who come in at 12 or 13 who are just getting started, and kids who are 7 or 8 who've been in the community for a while, and so are maybe a little bit more experienced. And that's one of the things that we really cherish about the community, is it's a place where regardless of what your interests are, your age is, your background is, you can kind of come together, and there's something for you there.
So, I mean, absolutely. When you're talking about the fact that there's something for everything here, my 3-year-olds and I, a couple times a week, we sit down on the iPad and we do Scratch. And of course they can't read yet, but they know that if they put the red block next to the blue block and then they hit the button on the robot, something is going to happen. And either it's going to be wonderful, or we say, okay, the robot fell off the bed. Let's try something different. I want to ask you guys a little bit about the way that your companies help teach parents. My kids are kind of fortunate because I'm a STEM person. I do a lot of STEM on the network here. I teach, but a lot of students don't have that opportunity, or they'll walk into a retail store and they'll see robots, but it's intimidating to parents that don't know what this stuff is or how easy it is. What advice could each of you guys reach out and give parents who want to help out but might not know that first step?
Sure. So one thing that you just said that was, made me, or that makes us sort of really happy, is just when we hear about the stories of like kids and parents creating together, because we know that, the kids that do the best in the Scratch community are the ones who have like parents who are involved, or like, mentors or older students or older sort of siblings who are helping them out. And so it's always great to hear about parents creating with their kids. But at the same time, the thing you pointed out about, not all parents feel comfortable with it or know about Scratch. And so that's actually one of the things we're starting to think more about on the Scratch team, how we can better support parents. And we've started creating, like one of the in one of our collaborations with the Cartoon Network, we actually produced these tutorials, which actually make it a lot easier for someone jumping into Scratch to get started. It's not, you don't start with a blank screen. You start with sort of like, a sort of like theme that you're following, and then a video that sort of helps you walk through, how to create in Scratch. And so we actually have, if you go to scratch.mit.edu/tips, we have a whole set of starter projects and resource materials and activity cards that are actually a really great starting point for parents who want to work with their kids. And I think, the advice we always give to parents is you don't have to be the expert. It's okay to learn alongside your alongside your kids.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to that, to what Champika had said, is that what I've learned, being in this now for a couple of years and having the great opportunity of interacting with a lot of the thought leaders and experts in this space, is how important it is to just start at a place of interest, right? So, introducing these concepts to your kids in a way that they would be interested. So if they are, a music kid, there's great ways to interact with computer science around music. And I think that advice holds true for grownups as well. If they have interest, to kind of jump into it in a point of at a place of interest. And not thinking about it as, it's computer science or this new skill, and thinking about the skill, but focusing more on the interest and trying to find that overlap, in this case with computer science. Because I think if you're interested in something, you'll stick with it. And then the last thing that I would say is that, if I was giving any advice, and I'm a parent myself, it's okay to make mistakes, right? And I think what we try to do through our messaging with kids is just kind of jump in and have a hands-on experience. And it's okay if you make mistakes, and it's okay if it takes a while, to really understand. And that's great. That's a great place to start.
I think that's some excellent advice. And as a teacher and as a parent, we're always looking for things. One of those great places that you can turn to is the CS4 All Summit. Before we turn the bases here, Jill, give us one more little tidbit about this conference. What can we expect if we want to attend, and what kind of topics are you going to be discussing at the summit?
Yeah, I think Cartoon Network specifically is really going to focus in on representation and just how important representation is. I think we take very seriously that we reach millions of kids every day, and we do it in a really relevant way to kids. They love our characters. They have great affinity to our characters. So we want them to see themselves reflected, and that's really our role there, as well as encouraging partners in this space and those who are committed to the CS4 All movement to create hands-on experiences for kids. And we are thrilled to be to be in this collaboration with Scratch, because we think what we bring to the table are our characters, and they bring this fantastic community where kids can really get these hands-on experiences. And I think those people that attend the CS4 All Summit, they'll have an opportunity to meet thought leaders, across multiple different sectors.
Anybody who's listening to this show, it must have some questions. How do I learn more? Where do I go? Champika, let me start with you. Where can we get a hold of you, and how do we learn more about the great stuff happening with the Scratch team?
Yeah, so you can connect with us on Twitter. We're at Scratch. And on Facebook, we are at Scratch Team. And then, of course, we always, we encourage folks to go and check out the Scratch website and the community and all the projects kids are creating. And you can see that at scratch.mit.edu. And
Jill, how can we learn more about the great stuff happening at the Cartoon Network?
Please go head out to thecartoonnetwork.com. So it's cartoonnetwork.com. And also follow us at Cartoon Network PR on Twitter.
And of course, thank you out there for making TeacherCast your home for professional development. There's, of course, several great ways that you can reach out and be a part of this and all of our shows. We like it when you find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And of course, subscribe to this and all of our shows over on teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and on behalf of everybody here on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network, keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.